Are you there? Are you gathering up? Hoot is getting the phone ready, so I'll be able to see who signs in. If you're joining us, say hey or something in the comments so I can do a shout out to you. We'll wait for a couple minutes till we can gather up. I know it's a new time. I hope this works better for everybody.
Well, we've got 3 showing up now.
Good. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. All right, Hoot is handing me. Hoot is not handing me the phone. Hi, Noelle. Hi, Betty. How are y'all? Oh, I'm so happy to see you. And Catherine is here, and Pat is here. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm happy to see you. Is that quilt? Am I halfway in the middle of this quilt? No.
You're right in the middle.
I'm right in the middle? Okay,
right
good.
There.
Good. Can y'all see this little thing we did? Yeah. So we welcome you. We're glad you're here. People are coming in. So if y'all were in real life, I would say find a seat. But since you're already at home or wherever you are watching, I'm grateful that you are here. It is a Marvelous Monday. I've had actually a really good Marvelous Monday, even though I'm working on taxes. And I'm not hearing anybody else talk about taxes. Is that just something I do and nobody else has to do? Or do y'all just have people that do it? Oh, Lynn is here and Nita's here too. Oh, good. I'm so glad y'all are here. I like the new time too. I'm taking a class, a new class, and it's an intensive, and it's 3 afternoon evenings, early evenings, a week for 7 weeks. And so, with the request to go earlier, that's one thing. And then with this class in the late afternoons, 3 days a week, I just decided it was not going to be feasible for me to do it at 6. So I like the new time too. I'm really happy. Hey, Gretchen, I'm so glad you're here. So as always, it is Monday. I hope you've had a marvelous Monday. Of course, as always, I prayed for everybody who watches. I prayed for your well-being and your health and your prosperity and your peace and blessings for everyone, whether you're watching tonight with us right now or if you watch it later on where it's not live. So, know that you've been prayed over today. The Lord knows that I pray over you. So, what I have hanging behind me is a quilt that I showed you a few weeks ago, but I had not finished it. And, what was that? Sounded like howling wolves or something outside, y'all. Seriously, that was odd. So now I'm distracted. Where did that come from? That's odd. Sorry. So the quilt behind me. I'll move out of the way so you can see it. What do y'all think? Y'all like it? Somebody give me some feedback. Do you like it? Is there something I should do different? What do you think?
Got lots of hearts.
Oh, lots of hearts. I see those. Thank you. Okay, so the Quilt Guild of East Texas had a theme in 2020, and it was the Jubilee year. That's the 50th year of, their history. And so we were doing red and white for Jubilee. And that show was canceled. And then the 2021 show was canceled. And now the facility that we have always held our quilt shows in is being knocked down, and they're going to rebuild on that site a new convention center, city-owned facility. But it won't be ready probably until, at the earliest, 2023. So sadly, all those plans for the Quilt Guild and the red and white quilts that they were trying to get everyone to make kind of got put on hold. Well, when they get put on hold, I get to it when I get to it. So that's why I did a red and white one. I will tell you how I did it. I'll give you the rundown. This is a layer cake. I used a layer cake. All the blocks are made out of a layer cake. Each fabric is in this set. And the way I did it was I put 4 of the small orange peel tools in each block. See this? So now let me show you what I'm talking about. My orange peel has, it looks like this, the tool does. It has this window, and it has this inner window, right? This small window, so it's a window within a window. This small tool is that size. This is what it looks like independently. So I took the layer cake, the 10-inch square, you don't have to use a layer cake, and I folded it vertically and horizontally and pressed it. And then I did it diagonally and had fold lines, and I laid this down. I centered this. And I put 4 of these in one square. So that's why this is scrappy. So you can do that with any color, of course. You know, this is a 2-color quilt, which is kind of out of my normal. I tend to move toward maybe a little more scrappy. But I love it because it's a layer cake and it does meet my kind of scrappy kind of world. Now these blocks up here, what I did is I took that same layer cake and I cut it in half. So this and this are half of the same layer cake. So I just cut it, 5 inches on each and made this border. And there's just 2 of those orange peels per border. So it was real fast and real easy. What was not fast was me getting to it. Because oh, I'm so glad you like it. Thank you, guys. That's awesome that you do like it. I think last time I showed you, I had gotten this far. And then I put this second white border on and then the outside border just to kind of finish it off. But y'all, I've looked at it a little while. It's been hanging up here because this is what happens. Now I need to make a back, and I have the fabric out to make the back. I just haven't gotten to it. And, but I put it up here and play with it. Ponder it is a good word. So I ponder it for a few days because before I have quilted things and thought, I should have put another border on that, or I should have done this or that. Well, I decided earlier this is what I'm going to do before I finish it. It is not too late for me to put one of these in this corner out of the white. So I'm going to do that, and that'll extend this line. This is like a blank but y'all didn't even see it until I had it hanging up there. Isn't that weird? You see, I just need that right there. So I'll do that before I quilt it. I'll add and that's on each corner. So I'll do that before I quilt it. And then I'll make a back, and then I'll get it quilted. No telling when. But when I get it quilted, when I get it finished, I will certainly show you what it looks like. Okay. Now I'm going to talk to you for a second about this tool. If you take the big tool and cut this shape out of the blue block. This is what this is, a 10-inch block. And I cut this shape out of it, right? And then I folded it under, so it's all clean edges. And then I stitched that down. After I did that, I put this tool back on top and marked the inner window and cut it out and put fabric behind it. I've done that here too. So, hey Lynn, you may recognize this. This is just a block, y'all. I made some little mug rugs, and I sent them off to my friends. Like, can you see it? So I did the same, cut it out and put an inner window and all that. I did it in 2 different fabrics. Well, I mean, same background fabric, but 2 different blue fabrics, just to give a little variety. And I had run out of some fabrics, but it's the same thing. Just a little mug rug. The reason I'm showing you that is you can do the big window and the middle window, or you can just do the little window, which is what I'm going to show you tonight. I'm going to show you another quilt. I'm about to take this red one down. Does anybody have any questions about this one before I do it? Yes, Lynn, you should. I bet you do have one just like it. Okay, so literally, y'all, I took a 10-inch square, folded it top to bottom, left to right. That made, fold lines, and then corner to corner, and aligned this little thing up on those fold lines and drew around it. That's how I cut out, that's how I positioned each of these. Real simple. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you a little story. I got a call from a woman in North Carolina wanting me to do an event for her, like online event tomorrow night. And she wanted a 6-inch block. This fits perfectly inside a 5-inch block. But she wanted a 6-inch block because every designer is making a 6-inch block. And so she wanted them consistent. Okay. So I decided to work with a 6-inch block. And that's when I'm going to show you what I did for her using this tool, the inner window, just the inner window. But I actually used this piece on a 6-inch block. So let me reveal it.
You want me to cover the lens?
No.
I was going to do special effects.
Well, go for it. You want to? Okay. Can y'all see it? Look, I had it layered and everything. All right, can you see it? I can't tell. Okay, good. I think so. Okay, I see. Oh, y'all are so sweet. I see all kinds of hearts. That's awesome. Okay, now I'm going to talk to you about why I like this fabric. This fabric is an ombre, and I know most of you know this, but there are some new quilters. I'm teaching a lot of beginning quilting classes, so I want to talk to everybody about this ombre fabric. Ombre fabric is any fabric that changes from dark to light at the fold and then back again, right? So this would be at the selvage would be dark, and at the fold it would be light. And then on the other side it's going to go light to dark. So here, and this particular one is a motif fabric, and it's the confetti line. You see that light to dark? And here's a fat quarter. These colors, y'all. I'm just telling y'all, these colors just send me. Look at this. Is that beautiful? Oh my word. That just sends me. It just makes my heart so happy. And I love gold confetti. Oh, I just love these fabrics. So what I did was when I saw these fabrics, I knew I made a huge quilt using these fabrics. But these are my leftovers. Look at this one. Is that not delicious? Y'all, this is like raspberry sherbet. I'm just telling y'all, like strawberry sherbet. Oh, I know. It's something, all right? So an ombre just changes colors, dark to light. They also have it in solids, dark to light. I've used, actually, you see this? This is a green solid, and it's dark here and light on the edge. I did that for the back. So that's one thing I love about this quilt. So I'm just going to point out some things I did, design ideas that I had and put into play. So this outer border, this isn't a very big quilt, but the outer border, I had cut those, however wide that is. I think I did 3.5 inches. I had cut them out of a fat quarter. So, something like this. And I had cut them. And they had a light end and a dark end. Well, I knew that I wanted the darks to match the darks and the lights to the lights. So the way I ended up doing it is there's a seam somewhere right here where the darks are together and the lights are in the corner. But the first time I did it, I had the darks at the corner and the lights in the middle. And I didn't like it. And so I took it apart. You know, it's what you do as a design. You know, when you look at it and you go, that's not it. And so I took all 4 of those I made every one of the borders. And then I took them apart. And then I restitched them so that the darks would be at the top and the bottom. And then I centered them. And this seam where I sewed them together is right in the center. So that is a design element you would probably never notice. But I'm teaching especially beginning quilters to just begin to dissect quilts and break down the design elements. Okay, so I did 6 blocks, 6-inch square blocks, and I did 6 across, and I did 7 rows. So then, and I'm going to show you how I made the block in just a second, but I chose this color. I had enough of this for the binding, and I was kind of saving it for that. I wanted something on here. But I also, if you look, I tried to put, here's where it's real dark, and do you see how it gets a little bit lighter? But then over here it gets a little bit darker. So I tried to stitch them together so that it wouldn't be 2 pieces together that look like this. This is what I'm trying to show you. Do you see? I didn't want that. And if I had put my my binding pieces together a different way, it would have done this, and I did not want that. So, just a little heads up when you're using ombres, which I adore. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you about this block. I'm going to show you how quick and how easy and how simple this was, and something that I learned. So I took some of this pink. I had a little bit of this left over as a scrap. I'm using all my scraps. I love this fabric so much. I don't always fall in love with fabric lines like I have this one. Okay, so I have 3, and you can tell it was light. You see, they were like this on the thing, and I cut 3 of them. Okay, to make this block 6-inch square. Now, you can go as small as a 5-inch if you want to. But you can make a 7-inch, an 8-inch, a 9-inch, and then if you get to the 10-inch, you're right back up to this. Okay? Watch this. Okay. I'm going to warm up my iron. I am going to fold this corner to corner. See that? Just diagonally. I'm going to iron that. I love that the iron will give me that pressed line. And I'm, for y'all's sake, because I could see it, but I want y'all to see it on the camera. I sprayed it. I spritzed it. This is that Annie's homemade starch. And we use water and vodka. And if you want the recipe, it is 2 parts water, 1 part vodka. Okay, now look, I have this cute little folded square. See that? But now you can see my fold lines. I can see them. Can you see my fold lines? Okay. This is the coolest thing. You know, I'm going to take this piece because I'm just going to draw this section. Okay? That's all this is. I'm just going to draw that. Watch what happens on this tool. I have a black registration line from this point to this point. Do you see that printed in the... Are they seeing it good? Okay.
That worked.
All right. And then I forgot to show you. And then I have the ones that go across. Okay? In the... printed on this piece. Now watch what happens when I should I put this on white paper? Can they see it better if I do that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you see my black lines? I go corner to corner right on those folded lines. Whoops. And I am looking for this cross line to fall. Corner, corner, fold line, fold line. I've got that thing perfectly centered. I'm trying to figure out how to...
it's
You got
good,
it?
yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know.
Yep.
All right. Isn't that easy? So I'm using my fold line as my registration marks. I thought this pen was going to work. It did. Okay, I just wanted y'all to see it. I needed it to be dark. Okay? Now, how easy is that? I mean, literally, that was like super quick. It's the same process. All of my tools work the same exact way. It's always about reverse applique. And reverse applique means that you're going to cut this little piece out. And then I'm going to get scissors. And I'm going to snip to the corners. You always snip to the corners. My technique is that I snip to the line, because everything I'm snipping has to be folded back. Now to this side, I find it easiest to work towards myself instead of away. So I can do these, more than 1/4 of an inch apart around there, because it's not a very big curve. Okay? I have all this little, see them? They're all little frayed, kind of folded parts. The next thing is just normal glue. We're going to use the glue. I'm going to put it's like lipstick. I'm going to put a little bit on this side. Now I have paper under me because I don't want the glue to get on my cutting mat. Now look, y'all. When I fold, do you see how it just folds on that line? Do you see that? Am I doing it? Am I doing it at a good angle, honey?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. All right. Then, hey y'all, I learned something about the glue. The older it is, or actually the drier it is, the more dry it becomes, the lighter in color it is. Isn't that interesting? So you know your glue is old, and I work this way. I just find it to be easier because I'm right-handed, right? And so I can go pretty fast because I've done it, I guess, enough times. Okay? All right, now, I'm going to iron that glue. I'm going to iron this. I want that glue to melt. I want the glue to melt because once it cools, it is no longer gummy. And I don't want the gumminess under my needle when I go to the sewing machine. So I'm doing this for 2 reasons. One, to hold it in place. And secondly, to protect my needle. Now look, I can put it right here. See? That, it's just a little window, and everything is folded back very neatly. See that? Okay. Now, I told y'all I'm using all my little scraps over there. Right? My little, trying to use up my scraps. So now I just take a piece of fabric. These are leftovers from from this. And we're going to use the green or the teal or whatever color this is. You know, back in the olden days, we called it aqua. Now this, you can do this fussy cutting too, right? So if you have a motif that you want it to be, and see how this has fewer confetti than this. So I prefer confetti. So I'm gonna do this, right? There is, you can cut this however you want to, but I'm going to trim it later. You can tell, you see how I've how it's still sticking out. I'm okay with that for now. So I take my glue. It's fighting me. The reason I'm putting this bead down is to hold the background fabric. Now I just lay this on there, and I just need to make sure that everything is covered, right? I can feel it with my fingers, and what I want is enough around the window again. I'm melting the glue so I won't have any gumminess on my needle. Now, here's a lesson. Do you see how it's shadowing behind? Well, it is going to shadow until we trim it. All dark fabrics, you can see through the fabric. Here's an example. See this one? I trimmed the dark from behind it. I've got this glued down really well right now. But once I have it stitched, right, I'll just come back and cut this real close. I'll just trim this off later. But I do it after I stitch normally because I didn't do it very well, but you see the difference between this and this. So that I trim it after I stitch it down. I want it to be stitched down because once I pull it up, I don't want it, the glue to come undone. So that's why I always just use scraps, and I just use whatever size I have, and I just do that. Okay, once I have that done, stitched down and trimmed, I just start laying it out. That's the whole thing. That's all it took. So y'all know what I do is I go in there with my stack of 40, what did I say? 42 blocks. All squares cut out, and then I go in there at night after dinner, and I sit in my chair, and Doug has made me I have a piece of wood that's like a desk. It's a makeshift desk, right? And I put it over my lap, but it sits on the arms of my chair. And I use that, and I have a little cutting board, and I have all these little things sitting by when you come to my house, you will see my chair. I've got a whole workstation set up there. I know it's crazy, but we live here. Y'all, and we've been living here for a year inside. So anyway, I do all these, like I'll draw them, all 42. I'll cut and glue back, all 42. Then I'll cut these pieces, all 42, get them all done. And then I'll go stitch all 42. So while I just started this quilt less than a week ago, it didn't take me very long at all. So I would encourage you, if you want to do, use this size. But what I loved about it was it lined up perfectly, corner to corner, and then corner to corner. And it's easy and fast. So that's one of the things you can really talk about on that tool that's good.
Tammy has a question.
Oh, good. Tell me. How do you stitch it down? Oh, good question. On this one, I used I used a thread. And the thread I used, it came out of my embroidery collection of thread. And it was the gold, and it's the same gold as the confetti. And I stitch, I'm going to show y'all. Let me hold this up. Look at this line right here. I stitch within as close as I can get to the edge. Do you see that top stitching? Can you see that?
I've got it.
You got it? Okay, the top stitching is just within a couple of threads. Do you see, there, that I can see it now, Doug.
Mm-hmm.
I just stitch right along the edge, y'all, and it goes real fast. You know, I don't drive real fast when I'm stitching, but I mean, it's not hard because it's not a heavy curve, right? And I just top stitch that down. Once that's down, it blends in with the quilting, and people don't even notice it anymore. So it's just top stitched right here. Now, if you want to get real fancy, you can do that by hand. I don't get fancy. I don't do fancy. I'm not a fancy Nancy. I'm more like Sarah. Well, I started to say Sarah plain and tall, but tall doesn't even fit. So I'm just Sarah and plain. You know, I just don't do that. I just don't have time. But I top stitch them. Once they're all top stitched, then I lay them out. And once I laid them out, then I just put that little border around. And I love, like I was telling you earlier, I love more of a scrappy or a colorful, you know, like lots of colors. So I didn't worry if the colors didn't match. Like this is sort of this is a scrap that I have that's kind of in the beige tones, you know. And I didn't worry if it, quote unquote, matched. I just went with it. Whatever I felt, you know, like it looked good or something. One of the things I did notice is I had more green left over than anything else because I bought more green yardage. So, if you will notice, I have this whole, well, most of this row and most of this row and then some greens down here. I tried to kind of, but I had twice as many greens as I had everything else. So that's another design element I will tell you. I tried to disperse them throughout the quilt. I kind of liked this when I first put it up, so I left it. There's still two greens over here, so but this is where those red sunglasses come in, you know, those red glasses that I have. And if you have a pair, this is where they come in handy. You can tell the color. Doug, if you want to, you know where they live? He didn't answer me, so I don't know if he knows where they live or not. Yes, they're in a red case. That's exactly right. Y'all, these are the best inventions since sliced bread. Okay, here's what they look like. They're red sunglasses. I bought mine at Missouri Star, and they look really weird. Don't they look weird? Okay, I think they look weird. And they look weird to look through them. But we'll look at this quilt through the red lens. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like it's not laying flat.
It is. It's good.
Can you see it? There you go. That's it, Doug. That's it. So you can tell the darker colors. Like this is the darker side. But I tried to disperse some of the darker. You see how there's some right here. And then there's some down here. Those red lenses really, really help you, you know, disperse things. Because if all the dark was up here, your eye probably wouldn't notice it. But you would notice it. It's just one of those things you don't see. You know, I think our mind sees it and our brains don't connect that we see it that way. So anyway, the red glasses help a lot. Okay, any other questions? Well, Kathy's here. Hey, sweet friend. And yes, Anita has extra vodka in her cabinet, so we all need to go to Anita's house if we want to fill up. But you do have a reason to buy vodka. I'm telling y'all, 2 parts water, 1 part. So if you have a container that has 3 cups, 2 cups of water, 1 cup of vodka. Now, I don't like the smell of it. So what I do is I put a couple of, maybe 4 or 5, in that much, for 3 or 4 drops of any essential oils. So sometimes I use lavender. Like at Christmas time, I use cloves. Oh man, I love cloves. Sometimes it's cinnamon. Just whatever essential oil fragrances you like. Put a few drops in and shake it up real good. And that way, you won't smell the alcohol in it. But you know that when alcohol is heated, it dissipates. But it also relaxes your fabric so fast. And I've told this story before, and I'll tell it one more time. And I may tell it for the day I die, who knows. I've told the story a lot. So I was telling a friend of mine this recipe. And she's a missionary to Bangladesh. And she, before COVID, was going 3 and 4 times a year. Okay. Her name is Alice. Everybody knows, lots of people, my friends know Alice. Okay, so Alice has never been in a liquor store in her life. So we live in Smith County. You can't buy alcohol in the liquor stores here, beer and wine, but you have to go across the county line to buy alcohol. So she left my house one day and she was going home, and the way she went, there was an alcohol store, or a whatever. Is that what they call it?
Liquor store.
Liquor store, yeah. Liquor store over the county line. This is East Texas. This is so funny to me. Okay, so y'all, I was originally from like Dallas, so this was really odd to me. Although I don't even drink the stuff, but whatever. So she was across the line, and I told her, I said, go in and buy. Tell the guy when you get there, you tell him you want the cheapest vodka you can find, because there's no sense in spraying expensive vodka on your fabric. You're going to burn it up when you hit it with an iron. So she walks in, and the man behind the counter, it's kind of a younger man, said, may I help you, ma'am? And she said, yes, I need the cheapest vodka you have. Where would that be? And he said, ma'am, he said, oh, I'll show you. Are you a quilter? And of course she died laughing, because because in our neck of the woods, I guess and so she called me afterwards and said, do you buy liquor out near Kilgore? And I was like, oh no, we go the other direction. She said, oh my word, I guess everybody else does. So anyway, it's a big joke around our little neck of the woods that you buy, that's what you do. You walk in, you tell somebody you want the cheapest vodka you can get. And that is the vodka. I mean, we would never serve that. We don't serve it anyway, but you know what I'm saying? We just wouldn't. It's just the cheapest. It's $11. Well, it used to be. I haven't bought any lately. It's about $11 for one of the big bottles. And you can get a lot of ironing in. So I highly recommend alcohol vodka. Just vodka. Because it's made from potatoes, y'all. It's a starch. So alcohol, vodka will press your fabrics beautifully. Okay, now, let me see. Oh, I have a little tidbit for you. I've lost the block. Do you see it? It's gone. Okay. I don't know what happened to it. Here it is. Okay, here it is. I was going to leave it out. Okay, I have another tip for you. I've been teaching a lot of 101 classes, and some of the people for a while didn't have 1/4-inch foot, like, for their sewing machine. So, I went ahead and bought some, it's called diagonal seam tape, and I'm going to show y'all. You take a bit of it, like this. It's kind of sheer. Some of you have already seen this. But I want those that haven't seen it, I want you to see it. Okay, it's got a red line and 2 black lines. Can you see this? The red line you put right in front of your needle. You put this on the bed of your sewing machine. And 1/4 inch to the right of your needle will be
That's good.
Here's your needle. Your needle's right here. This is 1/4 inch to the right, and this is 1/4 inch to the left. So if you are stitching 2 things together that are, let's pretend like you're going to stitch these together. Okay? And here's your needle. What you can do is if that tape is long enough, you can follow that tape and make sure it's a straight line. And it will also, if you do it this way, you can tell 1/4 inch. So I highly recommend this for people that are trying to stitch straight diagonal seams or trying to get 1/4 inch and don't have a foot yet. This is really good stuff. I put some on my machine, and it's come in handy, and it's not very expensive. So I wanted y'all to know that is available to you. Okay, I guess that is it, unless y'all have some questions. But you know what happens at this point of the day. Every week, I read you one of my devotionals. And today I chose, Doug and I were talking about what happened a year ago. Well, a year ago was, I guess, obviously May 10th. And it's even hard to remember because all of that's kind of a blur. Do y'all feel that way too? Like, nothing stands out in May except we were home. That's all that stands out. So, I'm going to read you, it's called The Rest of the Story. I wrote this last year. So here we go. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who are not interested in hearing a devotional, this is a good time. You might want to sign off now. Heads up. I would love for you to stay, though. Maybe this will bless you. I hope it blesses everyone. What do you think of when I mention Paul Harvey? For me, it's his distinctive voice saying, and now you know the rest of the story. Of course, I can't do it, but Paul was his first name. Harvey was his middle name. Paul Harvey Arendt. He was born in Tulsa in 1918. He was the son of a policeman. When Paul was 3, his father was murdered. Man, that's a hard way to start a life. One of his high school teachers was impressed by his deep and booming voice and suggested radio. She recommended him to the radio station, and at 14, he was given a job cleaning the place. He worked his way up the ladder, spent his whole life in radio as a newsman, a journalist, and a commentator. He was a strong Christian, and one of his dear, dear friends was Billy Graham. His wise quips were food for thought. Things like, if we cannot count on ourselves to do the right thing, how can we count on anyone or anything else? That is something to think about. And another one. It was self-serving politicians who convinced recent generations of Americans that we could all stand in a circle with our hands in each other's pockets and somehow get rich. Wow. So if you were a fan, you can still hear him say, "Hello, Americans." He would say, "This is Paul Harvey. Stand by for news." Of course, I can't do it. I'm not good with accents, so I can barely do the English language, actually. But do you remember in 2 Kings 6, the story of Elisha visiting the city of Dothan, or Dothan, depending on who's saying it? The king of Aram was at war with the Israelites, and he became outraged because everything he planned to defeat the Israelites backfired. And the Israelites had a secret weapon: Elisha and God. Elisha would warn the Israelite king, Joram, of every move planned by the king of Aram. Oh, that's so awesome. The king of Aram had had enough. He was frustrated, and he wanted to know how that was happening. So he told Elisha, who knew his secret plans, and Elisha was in Dothan. In verse 14, he says, "Then he sent horses and chariots and a strong force there. And they went by night and surrounded the city." And here's where it gets so good. When the dawn broke, the servant of Elisha got up, went out, saw that they were completely surrounded, horses and chariots and a huge army. So let me ask, if you looked out your window one morning and saw an army of police surrounding your house, would you be startled? Would you be afraid? Verses 15 through 17 says, "Oh no, my lord, what shall we do?" the servant asked. The prophet answered, "Don't be afraid. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them." And Elisha prayed, "Open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see." And then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked and saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. So let's read that last part again. The Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked, and he saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. You see what happened? Elisha prayed for the servant's eyes to be opened, and the Lord opened them so that he could see the rest of the story. The moment his spiritual eyes were opened, he could see the hills full of horses and chariots of fire. Those are the angels, mighty and fierce and warring angels that protected them. There were more angels and chariots of fire than there were in the invading army. How awesome is that? Friends, what we can see and hear and taste and smell and feel is very limited. But the rest of the story is God. He sends angelic help to fight on our behalf. We can pray for help, and we will get it. We can read scripture and see the truth that is hidden from so many people. The Lord is our protector, and his word is powerful. So I encourage you to read it. Trust it. Ask for your eyes to be open so that you also may see. I pray that I, too, will be able to see. And when we are surrounded by chariots and the army of the enemy, we know that we will be protected by chariots of fire. How awesome is our God? And the rest of the story is in 2 Corinthians 4:18. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen. I hope y'all have a beautiful and blessed day and week. And we will be back. Remember, 7 o'clock on Monday from now on. Marvelous Monday will be at 7 o'clock. And if you have any questions or need anything, you just let me know. Just comment or reach out to me. Know that you're prayed over, and I love you bunches. Talk to you later. Bye.